Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate of the University of Guelph, it is my great privilege to present to you Paul Stewart Ace for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Paul Ace is a visionary business leader whose distinguished career in the global retail food sector has set a new benchmark for finding sustainable solutions to the challenges of feeding the world. A senior executive with over 40 years' experience in the retail food industry, he began his career in South America before moving to North America. Over the last 25 years, he has taken on a variety of leadership roles in product, brand, and business development for Loblaw companies under the President's Choice umbrella. Mr. Ace's vision and leadership have resulted in numerous achievements in consumer marketing, sales, corporate responsibility, and people management. He built teams responsible for the creation of highly successful initiatives such as President's Choice Organics, President's Choice Blue Menu, and the PC Free From program. His innovations and ideas have influenced the entire industry. In particular, he is recognized for leading Loblaw's sustainability portfolio, where he spearheaded many programs and worked directly with farmers to expand value-added opportunities long before any other major Canadian company. He oversaw the creation and implementation of the Loblaw Sustainable Seafood Commitment, which required all seafood, wild or farmed, to be sustainably sourced by the end of 2013. This groundbreaking commitment has been acknowledged as one of the most comprehensive of its kind, and it earned the company a first-place ranking among Canadian supermarket chains in Greenpeace's annual report card. During his time at Loblaw, his leadership was recognized by being awarded the North American Private Label Executive of the Year in 2002. For his efforts on behalf of Loblaw, he was awarded the Chairman's Award for Outstanding Achievements in 2006, and more recently, Mr. Ace received the President's Choice Lifetime Achievement Award in 2012. In 2013, TV Ontario recognized his sustainable leadership efforts in the documentary series Green Heroes. He has improved options for millions of Canadian consumers, advanced the retail and food processing sectors, and provided new opportunities for primary producers. He is truly a leader for a sustainable world. As one of the most innovative and influential minds in Canadian business, Paul Ace is most deserving of a Doctor of Laws honoris causa from the University of Guelph. I now ask you, Mr. Chancellor, to confer upon Paul Ace the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
By the authority of the Senate of the University of Guelph, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws. Congratulations. Dr. Paul Ace will now give the convocation address.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, Julia, thank you. Firstly, well done to all you graduates. To you and your relieved parents, congratulations. As you sit here on the cusp of the major change of your lives, some of you are possibly giddy with excitement, others relieved, emotional, and hopefully having fun. Tradition has it that someone like myself, who is at the opposite end of things, the twilight of my career, is asked to give some words of advice. The day for me is also one of excitement and emotion, and hopefully after the speech is done, I'll be a little bit less nervous and also have some fun. I'm very conscious of the generational gap between most of us here today and the differences we communicate. No, I'm not talking about my South African accent, but my inability to do things in sound bites, tweetable texts, and using the right New Age jargon. But before I get to those words of advice, please excuse me for a moment to acknowledge a few people today. The Chancellor, the President and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Guelph, Dr. Alistair Summerlee. Congratulations on your upcoming retirement, and hopefully you will be having as much fun as I'm having now in mine. And to the Dean of the College of Business and Economics, Dr. Julia Christensen Hughes, for awarding me this honorary degree today. I like to refer to myself as having been a shopkeeper for the last 40 years. And the last thing I ever imagined was this type of recognition. I simply wanted to keep the customers happy, and hopefully they would come again. My success with many of the new groundbreaking programs that Julia has mentioned, and I helped spearhead at Robbers, was in part because I did and tried to put myself in the place of a customer. I tried to imagine where they wanted to go, and therefore was just trying to do the right thing. I also want to acknowledge some of the people who've been a very key part of my life and been very instrumental in my own success. Literally, from the beginning of my career, my lovely wife, Alison, who I met at my own time at university, has been my fiercest and unwavering supporter and constructive critic when needed for the past 40 years. I'm also incredibly privileged and, I guess, lucky to have a number of people here today who have worked with me and have been crucial and enormously influential in the part of my career, some going back over 35 years, to another hemisphere and to another continent, Africa. The world is a very small place, and remember, as you get older, it gets smaller. Thank you all, my friends and family, for being here, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. But my life hasn't only been influenced by long-standing relationships. I've been incredibly fortunate to work with the young up-and-coming generation, whose ability makes me feel extremely excited about the potential of the future. Tom, Maria, Melanie, I especially want to thank you for holding my feet to the fire, fanning my passion for shopkeeping, food, innovation, and the environment, and often keeping me in line and boxing my ears when I get full of it. To all of you and others, I owe my success. It would also be remiss of me not to acknowledge Loblaw companies who found me in Africa and took the risk to bring me to Canada 27 years ago. Here I was, the head of the product development group, having never eaten KD. I didn't have a clue what a red hot wiener was, and of course, I didn't know who Schneiders were either. Little did I know at the time that the enormous risk I was taking, coming to a country I knew no one, having to learn to drive on the other side of the road, what's more, everybody else had a strained accent, would be like winning the lottery in hindsight. Like many of you today who are Canadians, whose parents, grandparents, and forefathers took the decision to move to this wonderful country, for that we should give thanks. So subconsciously, I have already given you 4 key messages for the future. Firstly, and the most important piece of advice, is that relationships are crucial. You will often hear words such as, behind every person is invariably another person, in my case, my wife. I like the expression, it's not what you know, but who you know. But more recently, I heard from an associate dean an even better version. It's what you know about the people you know that counts. Others talk about the importance of networks and don't burn bridges. It all boils down to trusting relationships with others. What's the new age jargon that everyone uses? Right, #relationships. Secondly, there's a lot of talk about the late Steve Jobs saying that it's important to find the job you love. But For me, the operative word is passion. Once I heard someone say, the best antidote for boredom is passion. If you are passionate about life, your career, your relationships, you will have fun, and passion can be very infectious. Others will want to be with you, be part of your life, and do what you're doing. Passion is simply a job well done. Thirdly, be a risk taker. I like the word stand up and be counted. If you believe in something and have the passion for what it's all about, one has to be prepared to get out of your comfort zone and take risks. I have another saying, it's better to be criticized for what you've done than to be criticized for what you haven't done. Learn from your mistakes, but remember, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend. Being a risk taker, for me, opened doors, and I wouldn't have been here in Canada otherwise. I also mentioned earlier giving thanks. Once you hit the treadmill and the pressures of your career and simply surviving to make ends meet, one often forgets to celebrate the little successes that you attain along the way. Find the way to celebrate them, not only with yourselves, but with others who will come along for the ride. A little recognition goes a long way. However, my life, like everyone else's, has never been perfect. And certainly looking back, I have a number of regrets. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. So here are 2 bits of advice I give looking back that I'd like to have done a better job. Be a good listener. Being the passionate and impulsive person I am, I've often thought that I knew what others were saying. I was listening to what I wanted to hear, not what was being said. This has often led to frustration, friction, and a waste of time. I can see these friends of mine in the audience all nodding their heads in agreement as they know me well. The other bit of advice is don't take decisions in anger and frustration. The worst decisions that I regret, some that influenced my life today, were a result of anger and frustration. I had a boss who used to say, don't get angry, get even. I don't advise getting even is the right thing to do either. But his advice was to go away and to think about things, and one will have a better perspective the next day. Sound advice. And finally, the words of a really, really old English rocker. He is so old that he became a great-great-grandfather a couple of weeks ago. Some of you might have heard of him, Sir Michael Jagger. He is the lead singer of an ancient and antiquated rock band called the Rolling Stones. In the words of Mick Jagger, you can't always get what you want, but if you try hard enough, you will get what you need. Thank you, best wishes, and good luck.